Hello, everybody out there. It is June 21st. This is the design and usability check-in meeting for Backdrop CMS, and we're going to go over design-related tasks and user interface-related tasks that affect Backdrop, the product, as well as things that are around in the Backdrop ecosystem. The first thing we're going to talk about is backdropcms.org, the website. And we don't have many issues that we're tackling with backdropcms.org right now, except for this longstanding issue, which is issue 442 in the Backdrop Ops backdropcms.org issue queue, which is improving the search for the modules, themes, and layout search page. When we first commissioned the designs for backdropcms.org, we had these really excellent mock-ups of how the filtering and sorting should work on the search page for installing modules, themes, and layouts, but we never built that out. And so there are mock-ups in that issue that have really great suggestions of how that functionality should work, but has not been implemented. So all that we really need there is a volunteer to put in some time to make that mock-up a reality. And where that work would actually happen is backdropcms.org has its own project and its own issue queue and its own Git repository. And that's where all of the activity is happening for backdropcms.org. If you need access, if you're interested in helping on backdropcms.org, we can get you a database dump. We have an automated system for sanitizing the databases, and then it's just a git checkout and then import the database, and then you're good to go. Let's see. On the forum site, forum.backdropcms.org, there's a real minor issue that was brought up a couple weeks ago regarding CKEditor, that we do a lot of code blocks in the forum because people are talking about code on the Backdrop forum. And CKEditor has a dropdown that lets you format information or format text as code, and it just needs some slight CSS tweaking. That actually probably might even be a Backdrop core issue rather than a forum issue, but we can address it in the forum styling and then move that upstream if we so decide to. That issue is issue 59 in the forum.backdropcms.org issue queue. Also under GitHub/backdrop-ops. That's where all of our Backdrop CMS websites, all their code repositories live.
That's a CKEditor issue. I actually ran into that on a client site.
Yeah, it probably affects even like all Drupal sites as well as all Backdrop sites. Yeah, it would be good. Like I said, that might actually be a problem that we could solve in core, or even like literally in CKEditor. Although maybe it's just a matter of updating. Maybe that would fix it. In any case, it's tracked right now in the forum site because it affects that site directly. Probably figuring out how to fix it on one site would be a good starting point, and then see where we can move that upstream. So let's talk about Backdrop, the product. There's a lot of issues that we're currently in the progress of either moving forward on or need design work on, or we're still discussing like what we should do. The first one is issue 2873, which is an update to the way the requirements are shown during the initial install. Right now, we're just taking the hook requirements page, which is the same as the status report, and then it's just like dumped into the installer. And while that page looks good as a status report, within the installer, it doesn't look nearly so good. So these things kind of happened when we redesigned the we redesigned the status report page, but we didn't quite realize it was also going to infect the installer. And so there's some suggestions in there about how we could potentially improve these problems or improve the display of the information for both desktop and mobile while doing the installer. I'm not sure how many people are doing, backdrop installs from their phone, but it'd still be good to be comprehensive in our fixing. So we have suggestions there. I think implementation is going to be a challenge in that particular issue. Let's see. The modules page, we're working on reworking the modules page slightly to make it so that the filtering and searching works a little bit better. That's issue number 37. We have a compromise in that issue. The pull request needs to be updated to adjust to the new agreement that is reached in that issue. There's two issues for this next one. Add saved draft to core, which is issue 1383 and 3122. The short of this is that the only thing that we've truly agreed upon is that when you change the publishing state, let's say you're saving something as a draft, or you're scheduling it, or you've selected it to be published, the button on the node form should reflect what action you're about to execute. So right now the node form always just says save, and we want to make it so that if it's going to publish, the button says publish, and if it's going to be scheduled, then the button gets relabeled to schedule or save for scheduling, or something that matches the action that you're about to do. I think that's best expressed in issue 3122. And the reason why this is confusing is because save as draft is a contrib module that also does this, or save draft module, it basically does this exact same thing. And so the concept of merge save draft into core and rename the labels to match the action that is going to be achieved, they're both two ways of describing basically the same thing. There's some minor variation in there, which I'm not actually sure what what that variation is, but that's why we've got two issues. Anyway, so we're all in agreement there. I think that we really need to just put a pull request up that reflects that goal, and then proceed from there. I think it would really clarify a lot of things if we just managed to get that part that we all agree upon done, and then we can decide what it is that still needs to be done after that. Let's see. Next issue is a problem when running update.php. This is purely a user experience problem that if your site doesn't meet all the requirements for updating, we just kind of ambiguously say not all requirements are met without telling the user what those requirements are that were not met. And so this is merely a suggestion to update our messaging so that we tell users what is actually making it so that update.php can't be run. And that's issue 2858. And there's a pull request already made there that just needs review. Let's see. In, I think, Backdrop 1.9, we added the ability to make new display modes on content types. And when we did that, we restructured the way that display modes are shown in the administrative interfaces. And just as a minor follow-up to that is issue 3141, which is merely that when you're managing a display mode for content type, the title on those pages does not actually reflect the page that you're on. I think it just says the name of the content type rather than saying managing, full page display mode for page content type, something that was actually comprehensive of what that page is actually doing. Let's see. And lastly, the ones that we've got slated for on the agenda is two issues that relate to the installer module that let you install modules and themes and layouts from Backdrop, issue 3142 and 3143, which, hang on, I have to read this. It has to do with dependency management, like saying, if a module is dependent upon another one, actually express wait a minute here. I think I'm going to skip on this one, actually, because I think that we've solved this problem, that what these issues are related to, in a way that is different than what is being described here. There was an actual bug, I think, that was corrected with dependency checking. And so I'm just going to skip that. Okay. Wes, thanks for joining today. Wes and I were chatting before the meeting. Apparently, you've been working on a Views UI redesign, and there isn't a backdrop issue for it yet, but you have some progress that you want to share, or just some ideas that you'd like to put out there?
Yeah, apparently I don't like myself, so I wanted to try and redesign Views. Here we go. So this was done for D8 because I thought that the person maintaining it would be interested in it. It seems like that might not be the case, but I don't think there's anything different in Backdrop, to be honest. I think it's all the same UI. So this doesn't take away any functionality, which makes it difficult, but that's like a totally different discussion. But if the functionality was changed, you could simplify this. There are some design critiques I've gotten so far, and this is, I would say, first draft stage. Basically, what I was trying to do is group things in a way that makes sense for what they do and get rid of the advanced column because it's terrible. And then feedback that they got in D8 land on UX was they wanted to see a better preview. So I don't know how possible it is, but I was thinking you could do a iframe here, and I had a little button toggle here that's not the greatest icons, but the idea is, if you're on desktop, we'll just make it like a phone width kind of thing. But then you could click the desktop button and it would use CSS to scale the iframe so that the iframe was in fact 1,000 pixels wide, but it was like zoomed out. And then you could get a pretty good idea of what's going to show up, because I don't think you necessarily care so much about the fine details so much as like the gist of what it's looking like. And there could be other ways of handling that, but that was kind of a way I thought. And then I also got the URL parameters here. Mm-hmm. And then like a refresh and open a new window. And again, I don't know how plausible those are. Yeah, and I took some things out of where they were. So let's see. Edit view settings. I don't think there's a really great way to do that, but I thought that should be something that was exposed somewhere, but it's also very tertiary. So I wanted to get that in there. And then so display settings to me is just, you create a block or a page and it has whatever options it has, and always showing things, even if you can't edit them. So this little question mark here is just to say, you can't edit the machine name of this, but this is what it is. And then I felt like access felt related to the other things here with path and menu link. So I shoved that up there. And then query just being how stuff gets on the page. I separated filters and expose filters because it creates an annoying multi-step form that's confusing and glitchy, at least in Drupal 7. I always have weird bugs with it where I have to like go in with CSS and like unhide something or just whatever. And it just, this way I think you're telling the user that you have multiple ways of doing filters. And maybe there's a way we explain what these are individually, but these filters happen before, without the user knowing. These are the ones that show up in the form, and then these are like, I would almost want to change this to URL parameters, except for there's technically other ways you can send those filters, but I'm not sure that the average user really cares, needs to know that. With a generic name. So I didn't touch some of the naming, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I did a bad job of this, but I want this content thing. It's kind of necessary in case you have a relationship or something, but most of the time it's extraneous information, and I want to figure out a better way of handling it to frame it like that. Or maybe if you don't have a relationship and everything is content, maybe get rid of it until there is something. But I just kind of left that as is. And then all the stuff in advanced and all that are here. And then also I thought it's important to say what the base table is. That's something that you decide on the wizard, but is never surfaced again, and you can never get back to that wizard. And it's kind of good. Then it's good information. Once you really start to understand views, like you might have set this up a year ago and forgot, oh, this is maybe showing taxonomy terms through a relationship or something weird, but it's actually working off of Node. Then content and relationships. I didn't really know what to do with these necessarily, but these kind of felt related. And force using fields is hidden in somewhere, and I thought, if you have it, views should generally default to content and view modes, I think. But if you need fields, which I've found that I have a couple times, it's kind of good to know that you can do that. And then relationships, I put a question mark next to it because there's not I can't think of a good succinct way to describe what relationships are in a headline here. So maybe some help text would be good there. And then theme and appearance, just being the stuff if you're talking about how it shows up when it's actually on the page, that's everything here. So view wrapper classes, I think, was initially somewhere else. All three of these settings, and then adding header footer stuff would be here, and then your exposed form options. Oh, and I think pager is missing. Pager would be in here too. But so this is my take. Oh, and then I changed the tab. I don't like the tabs. I think they're dumb. And just having a select drop down to choose your display and tell people what the hell a display is, because that's not necessarily intuitive. And then the ability to edit the display name would just be it would hide the select box and make it a text field, and then you'd be able to save it or something. I don't know. But yeah, that is what I was thinking.
Just curious, the content squares that you have there, is that something that's there already?
Where is it?
The content, the word content next to all of your filters, for example.
Yeah, so let me see here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Since I'm going to show a client site here, I'm going to pick a very innocuous view. All right, so it would be this. It's content colon. Right now, it's just part of the thing, and I think it's kind of obnoxious because it'd be best if these things were on the far left, just the way it would read nicer. And I wanted a way to make this secondary but still there. It's also the category that this thing is, so it gives context to this. It's kind of a goofy problem to have.
Yeah, that content colon is really just that's just the label of the particular filter, and it just so happens that it labels it by default content colon and then the name of the filter. You can actually even right now you can choose a custom administrative label, and then it will just remove the word content and then put something else there. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. You raise a good point that maybe that entire word, for the most part, is superfluous.
Yeah,
Um,
it changes with relationships, right? Like that, like if you're using something from the term in the relationship, that would change. I think that's the only time it does.
it's not relationship based. It's purely just whatever label is like when you click add.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna help. It's just
So
this stuff.
yeah, it's literally what you see next to each checkbox that it ends up
Okay.
being, yeah, and that's the category and then the name of the filter, and so the category is content. So it's possible that the category would be comment or term or
Right.
something like that. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Or date or something.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it is kind of interesting that you raised kind of a good point that that might be superfluous because if it's like, comment subject, it's really dumb that it's like comment colon comment subject.
Right.
But I could see a lot of places where it could be ambiguous. I don't know, maybe, but for the most part, I don't encounter situations where it's likely to be ambiguous.
Right. Right. That might just be like a fixing a couple labels problem, and
Hmm.
not like inflict every single thing ever with a label,
Yeah.
an extra label. All right. Well, I gotta go. I'm being beckoned to help someone out of a car. But
Okay. Well, Wes, thank you for sharing. I mean, this is probably more effort that has been put into it than has been done anytime recently. So it's still uh, awesome to like take a stab at and see, what kind
yeah,
of things we can get out of it.
and this is very pie in the sky. Like some of these things could just be like little fixes that don't have to involve an entire redesign. But
Hmm.
I wanted to do a pie in the sky to think about what I would change if I were ruler for a day and didn't worry about time or person person time or code difficulty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. I'll let you go, and actually, we'll kind of wrap up the whole meeting because there's no anything else on the agenda. So thank you, Wes. And thank you, everybody out there, for joining the meeting today or for watching. And we'll meet up again for design tasks in 2 weeks and development tasks here in 30 minutes. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you guys soon.